I don't know any sleight of hand if you're concerned about that. Spirit told me today to just start with flipping out a few cards. I'm here to deliver a message that may be a bit triggering to some people. If you do feel like you have been through some traumatic things within your past, because this will be the discussion for today's reading, then I would certainly take a moment to perhaps study yourself, determine whether or not this is something that you want to partake in at the moment, and see if you are able to perhaps create a better environment for yourself, such as making sure that you have someone that you can talk to about these things, making sure that you have something that you can eat or drink, playing some music that might be comforting to you in the background while the reading goes on. And by all means, if this does end up becoming uncomfortable for you at any point, please do move on or save it for another time, whichever is most amenable to you. So I'm going to take a sip of my... I have this, I guess it's a sports drink kind of a thing with these little packets that my roommate gave me. I think it's called like Squincher or something. This is like called Squincher Zero. So I'm going to drink some Squincher. And then we can get started on your reading. So the reason this message is coming out today, and I have this shell that I'm going to be holding on to for a large portion of the reading, it's just going to help me to think. The reason I'm doing this reading today is because I previously did set out a reading where a number of things were revealed over time, such as the depth of a certain amount of trauma going on in the collective's mind, the possible pain that's coming out as a result of that, as well as a number of other things that may be bubbling to the surface in your life. And I wanted to do a better job than I did previously. The previous video, which is not going to come out, was about 2 hours long. I'm going to try to condense this down into somewhere between half an hour to an hour so that, number one, it didn't render on my computer. I have the option to render it on a separate computer I did wash the shell off a bit because it was a little dusty and now there's water coming out of it. So some of you might be, actually, I'm not going to lie, some of you might be in a state where you feel very, either you haven't been crying or there may be some tears that come out as a result of this. And I encourage you to treat yourself kindly and take care of yourself if that's the case. But previously this reading was far too long and I didn't feel that I was as clear as I should have been or as supportive as I should have been. So I'm going to do a slightly separate reading. This is going to be more of a comfort from the universe kind of a reading, because that's mostly what we're going to be focusing on. We are going to start, after we go through a little bit more of this, with a bit of delving into what happened previously and talking about it and maybe shedding some light on the situation. But for the time being, we will focus on comfort from the universe or from spirit, whichever higher power you so desire to align with. But I'm going for like the top of the top there. So if that's God for you, if that's any particular God from a collection or whatever the case may be. And if the camera moves, my beloved Juniper, my kitty, is hanging out in the cat tree, which is what I have my camera mounted on. So it's going to move a little bit, but she seems like she's taking a nap, so it shouldn't move too much. And with all that out of the way, I think that we can finally move on. I think that we have given it enough time. So, is there anything else besides these two that you would like to say? Okay. For now as we walk into this. So I will save these while we go through these two. So obviously we came out with my vibes speak louder than my words without necessarily speaking. I don't know any sleight of hand, so I don't exactly know how to do that. That's just a synchronicity from the universe, a sign. Perhaps you've been seeing butterflies or moths recently, or perhaps you have been looking up at the stars. I'm also seeing fireflies as well. So these things could be more confirmation that more of this message might be relevant to you. But as always, just take what resonates with you, whatever feels like it really truly resonates with you, and leave what doesn't. Because if you get yourself too up in a tizzy about stuff that isn't necessarily relevant to you, that isn't a part of your life, just recognize that message might be for someone else rather than getting yourself frustrated about it. Then we also have, when I lean on certainty and faith, I change my mind about the world I see. When I lean on certainty and faith. So what can we be certain about in our lives, really? Can you think of anything? I hate to be like... I feel like I'm voice acting an episode of Dora the Explorer right now, and some people might be annoyed with me about that, but can you think of anything that is a certainty in your life? I can think of at least one big one, and that is change. So if you are really going through it right now, and you are dealing with the consequences of some of your past trauma, the consequences of some of the difficult things that you've been through throughout your life, or difficult things you're going through now, then this reading is definitely aimed at trying to get you to see the certainty of the changing of that kind of a situation, to take you from feeling like a victim to feeling like you are surviving. You are a survivor. You're surviving, no longer a victim, but someone who has survived a particular situation, and then moving on to thriving. That's going to be our goal. So we have joy is the ultimate creator. Happiness is my birthright. And my fearless freedom lights up the world. So there's definitely, I'm definitely getting a sense here that I'm not going to jump into the positivity about this right away. I'm going to take this as seriously as I can. But the universe is really trying to pat you on the back and say, listen, things are about to get a lot better for you. Things are about to change. And as you start to feel that joy, you will start to generate more and more, because you will start to literally light up the world around you. And that will just lead even more wonderful things coming in towards you. There is going to be a change coming in soon. And it's not something that you necessarily might even want to talk about with other people. It may just be apparent in your behavior as time goes on. Other people will notice how much you have changed. And hey, why don't we, not to quote, man, I'm already going to have to put two things in the description. I will put the Surviving to Thriving, or surviving. I think it's it's called Surviving to Thriving. It's a book by He's a marriage and family therapist, but he does have I believe his master's in that. So his name is Pete Walker, and he has some really excellent work on recovering from PTSD and complex PTSD. So if that applies to you, or if you feel you may have issues with flashbacks and things along those lines, and I feel like I'm getting a lot of those people because we just had a train going by, and that actually startled me a little bit. Normally that doesn't startle me at all. So there's definitely like either some residual PTSD or some other things that perhaps for some of this group, you think that can't be healed after such a long time. For others, it may be a more recent, fresh wound. Either way, the treatment is still relatively the same. It just may take a different amount of time to adjust. But I think specifically the universe is really trying to reach out and say, hey, listen, this is going to be a little bit different going forward. You're going to start seeing yourself in a state of joy more often. You're going to start seeing yourself truly recognizing that happiness is part of your birthright on this world, in this world. And as you start to feel this happiness, this joy, you start to experience the fearless freedom of such an emotion. Joy truly is one of those emotions that does allow itself to be fearless in the moment, which is why it can be so hard to experience after we have had our freedom or some particular traumatic experience that then chains us to feeling afraid. It becomes very hard to move forward into joy when we are afraid. I've been through some really, really painful situations in my life. I'm gonna sip some squinchers. Hold on. I've been through some really painful situations in my life. And although I could talk to you from here over towards like the next couple years about, and I probably will, about some of the things that I've been through in my life, I do truly, truly believe that there are a lot of really valuable lessons that can be learned within that. I don't believe we go through these things for the lessons, because if everyone has free will, then no one's being controlled to like hurt us or anything like that. But there is a treasure that can be found. Oops. within the trauma in time. There is a degree of learning and perspective that is gained from such situations, that is gained only through either learning about or going through some of these really painful situations, that I think will allow you to see just how strong you really are for having gone through this. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these cards and I'm going to hold them off to the side here for the time being. I'll put one like over here, just so that we remember that. And I think that will be a good juxtaposition for the rest of the cards that we're going to be getting out. So we're going to go a little bit into detail about what Spirit wants to say in regards to the traumatic experiences that you've gone through. And I'm actually being called to use a different deck than this. We're going to actually start with the Pocket Oracle. The first deck that I used was The Universe Has Your Back. I have the box right here. If anyone is curious about perhaps picking up a copy of the deck. Because I do, out of all the decks that I have, I would recommend this one the most, especially for people who aren't going to do like large scale tarot readings and things along those lines. Obviously, if you're into getting a lot of different tarot decks, you already know what you like. But for people who are just getting into perhaps maybe wanting an oracle card or something, an oracle card deck, these are the Universe Has Your Back deck is quite nice, and it is very uplifting, and I do very, very much appreciate it. So we have the Mystical Shaman that popped out in reverse. So there's going to be a medicine in our book for me to read to you, and I will see if anything else comes up while I chat. But I'm hearing no on that, actually. Another medicine from the Crow. And one final medicine from the Rattle. So I will read through those. We'll read the medicine on those together, but what I will say is that the Universe Has Your Back deck, as I was saying previously, quite nice, quite uplifting, very comforting. If you were interested in such a thing, I would certainly look into that. Otherwise, any of the other decks I will do my best to share. This one is the Mystical Shaman Pocket Oracle. I just have the little cards. They were cheaper, and it is for the purposes of divination, so I am not all that concerned about them being huge, although it would be lovely to see the art closer up. For the time being, I'm kind of out of space for more cards. If this channel turns out to be more successful over time, I will likely invest in a larger selection of decks, and I will choose which ones I'm going to use. So let's just go from left to right here as they came out. So the Mystical Shaman is 38. Oh, I did find the Rattle already, so I can hold on to that. Well, if the Rattle came out first, let's read that medicine first then. All right. You want to catch God on the whisper, not on the shout. When you are what you are trying to craft to your own desires and expectations is already there, standing before you. Do not spin the world to your own benefit. You are being offered the Creator's tools, which must be put to use to serve a divine purpose. So there's one piece of medicine. I am not 100% sure how to integrate that, but perhaps the message speaks for itself. The Rattle speaks to a sense of spirituality and prayer and calling to attention. Perhaps this is a good time for you to get more acquainted with spirit, or to get more acquainted with whatever higher power, such as the universe, that might be of assistance to you as some kind of higher entity. Okay, this is a longer medicine. Be careful what you pray for. The Mystical Shaman cautions you against relentless attachment to a certain form that you think will make you happy, prosperous, famous, loved, or etc. However, in seeing your dream come into being, had you considered what you were willing to sacrifice for it? Perhaps you have been telling yourself a certain story for so long, the story that only when you reach this particular goal will you be happy, that you will arrive. You didn't even notice you're no longer the person who wanted those outcomes. You may have moved beyond those stories. Perhaps it's time to admit to yourself that you need to imagine a new story that is more in alignment with who you have become. This is just one moment in millions of moments in the continuum of a life. I'm going to say that one more time. This is just one moment in millions of moments in the continuum of a life. Let it go. Let it be just a story and move on. Better tales are waiting to be told. And then we have the crow as well. The medicine from the crow. I love reading these because it's very, very poetic. And although I am learning to read these cards, I am much more familiar with the tarot. I've been using these for maybe about a year or two versus the multiple years, perhaps like 15 to 16 that I've been using tarot cards. So there's a vast difference between that, and especially with cards that just have words on them. This would be like easiest difficulty tarot. These are useful due to the fact that they are intended to have archetypal energies about them, by which I mean they have imagery that can be interpreted in certain ways. Like this is the mystical shaman, for example. You can see there's some ghostly faces in the background, these beautiful wings and feathers. Well, you can see, like, sort of in the background, there's like a silhouette of wings over the feathers on the headdress here. And then we have more wings in front of the moon. There's so much imagery here that represents the spiritual, that represents and remember that the message from this one was there are a lot of moments on the grand continuum of life, and this is someone who's looking from the perspective of someone who can see that spiritual side of life, who truly does see all the different continuums that can be going on at one time, who sees all these different things interacting with each other and knows that there is a greater cause beyond what we can just see plainly. Because, and I can say this in layman's terms, if someone hurt you, it was because something about them was either not right, like something was genuinely injured, or otherwise was born in a way that was not helpful to them, to not conductive to them being able to empathize and not hurt you, such as a personality disorder or something along those lines. Or this was someone who was hurt. You don't often get people who don't have any personality disorder and don't have any past trauma who hurt other people. Most of those people are pretty well adjusted, and they generally wouldn't, I wouldn't say well adjusted per se, because a lot of you out there might be those people who really just haven't done anything to hurt anybody and would go out with the intent of being kind to others. So it's not like a throwaway thing, but you get what I'm trying to say. Hurt people. And that's another thing for the Jim Carrey thing. I don't think I actually explained what I was referencing earlier, but Take a Chance on Faith was a Jim Carrey thing. There's a commencement speech that he gave not too long ago. So perhaps for many of us, and actually this was the message in the reading that this is replacing, there is sort of a graduation that's going on here. So you are, I guess this is the whisper. You are being guided towards overcoming whatever this trauma is, whatever this difficulty is. And we are going to go more into detail so that I can talk about it with you personally. But then we have the crow's medicine. Make sure that's in frame. Okay. Be true to your word. Crow arrives just as we have convinced ourselves that what we are doing is right and justified. And while this may be the case in the realm of relative truth, in the higher realm of absolute truth, it is not. Look deeply into your heart and remain alert, lest you convince yourself of something that isn't deeply true for you, or perhaps is not the highest truth. Do not seduce yourself with illusions. So what can we, for some reason the word justified is coming back to the word, what was the word in here? certainty. I don't know why those two are connecting. Perhaps we'll find something that represents that in the future. But this crow can be a warning about making sure you don't let other people's values, especially if someone has hurt you in the past, why would you let their values dictate how you live your life now? Or why would you speak to yourself in the voice that they spoke to you in if they treated you so terribly and you truly disliked being around them? Why would you perpetuate a behavior? This is making me think of, in this context, of people who are talking to themselves in a really negative mental voice. People who are basically allowing their shadow, or in Pete Walker's language, it's the inner critic, which you can actually find a free PDF about on his website. Again, I'm going to link both those in the description, the Jim Carrey commencement speech and the Pete Walker thing. You'll see that, so you can jump down to it. If you want to jump down to it now and read through it, you can come back to this in a moment, or listen to the commencement speech. But man, that commencement speech always stings, because I went through some really difficult stuff in my family growing up, and he talks about how like all the parents must have been so kind to their kids, and I'm just thinking like, oh gosh, that's difficult, because I know a lot of kids out there probably still have those kinds of issues with their parents, and that stings. But I think that there's something about it that seems beyond that in a way. It's hard to describe. But to get back on topic here, what are you accepting in your life that is an echo of this person, or this perhaps powerful political figure, or religious figure, or religious like monolith, like a government or a church or something like that? What are you allowing to still influence you without you realizing it? Like, what patterns did you pick up that perhaps you're still unconsciously repeating, and can you pinpoint them and teach yourself to unlearn them? This, I think, especially is like a negative self-talk or harming yourself kind of a situation here, because I'm just getting the sense of like someone thinking it's, because I just had this issue with my mother today, actually, who I just realized like she actually, at least at this point right now, has been talking about herself relatively negatively, and I'm trying to catch her on it and be like, Mom, don't talk about yourself that way. And I feel like that's what the universe is trying to say to you, like, don't talk about yourself that way. Don't talk about yourself as if you're damaged goods, as if you're cursed, as if you're just going to harm other people by being around them, because that's not the case. It's not justified or right for you to be spending all this time. And again, you want to catch God on the whisper here, not on the shout. You don't want to end up in a situation where you're put at the mercy of other people just to learn that they have it. Because I had to go through that, and it sucked. And I really regret not just trusting people before and talking to them before I had problems, because I had a lot of health problems. I had seizures, and I was just going absolutely crazy before and after them. Like, I was really, really losing my mind. I didn't necessarily hurt anybody, but I certainly destroyed a lot of my personal belongings, and I certainly scared a lot of people as well, because I was not making any sense. As far as I was concerned, I was going through like a crazy spiritual thing, and I wouldn't necessarily call it spiritual psychosis, because psychosis is already a part of like the pre-seizure phase. So it wasn't coming as a result of me overdoing it on the spiritual side of things, which you should always be careful with. Don't go crazy reading tarot readings like all the time. It's not necessarily going to help you. Also, I think my music turned off, or this one's just quiet. Nope, this one's just quiet. But that does help me quite a bit. Sorry about that. But yes, I think that one of the biggest issues that you might be having here is similar to what I'm going through, or what I did go through previously, which was the negative self-talk. And what I'm seeing in my mother is that negative self-talk, or that negative self-belief, where you're allowing this inner critic portion of yourself, that voice in the back of your head that's always like, oh no, I'm such an, even if you're the voice, where whether it's you're such a piece of shit, or you're so awful, or you're just stupid, or whatever the case may be, cursed, whatever you want to use the language to describe yourself. I'm sure you are already thinking of some of the worst things you've said to yourself, but to not allow you to dwell on that for too long, try to replace that. I heard from another reader, try to replace that every time you have that kind of a thought. Try to give yourself 3 positive thoughts about that same subject, because that may actually help you to sort of retrain yourself a little bit into seeing yourself in a better light. And if you can't do it for yourself, do it for other people, because when you are at your wit's end, how you treat yourself is how you're going to treat other people. Like if you're really in a negative situation, like say you have an emergency go on, or you're in the hospital and you're in pain and all this other stuff, you are going to, whether you want to or not, treat other people the way that you treat yourself. So if you're afraid of having a breakdown like I have had, and you're afraid of embarrassing yourself or hurting other people, you need to start retraining yourself from the inside out. If you're afraid of losing control at some point for whatever reason, the freaking linchpin, that last little portion of the virus that allows us to do that kind of stuff, always ends up being, or in some cases maybe doesn't end up being, depending on how you come at this, because some people are kind of narcissistic, but that's neither here nor there, because you can make the argument that those people have very low self-esteem. If that's any of us who are dealing with like some kind of narcissistic issue, I highly recommend talking to a very specialized therapist about such things, because I know that regardless of the damage that can be done by these people, by people who are experiencing that kind of a mental health issue, that still is a very painful thing to go through in and of itself. But perhaps you at least have a framework to work from, whereas a lot of other people who are on the more abused side of it, who haven't necessarily repeated those behaviors as often, they tend to take it more personally. But who's to say who's taking it more personally if it is being just stuffed down, Like pain is pain is basically what I'm trying to say here. So essentially what I'm getting at with these cards at the end of the day, and I am going to take another squincher sip, is to be careful with how you speak with yourself, because that is the last line. There's not going to be a better moment or a better time than right now to start replacing some of those thoughts with better ones. And when you learn how to replace your thoughts with better ones, you become so much more powerful overall, just due to the fact that you are able to... Hold on, let me check my time. Okay, I'm all right. Just due to the fact that you are able to stop your thoughts in their tracks. You become better able to handle certain emergencies, certain like high stakes situations, because you are not going to allow yourself to fall into that same thought pattern. You already have control over your thoughts. Which means if you end up in a situation where you do feel like you're starting to lose it, you might actually be lucid enough to ask for help before it gets too bad. But I'm definitely getting warnings for some people that if you do not start doing this, the universe is going to... It's going to allow for a situation to occur in which you will be able to learn how much you can rely on certain people and how much you can't rely on other people. So you got to get real good with talking to yourself kindly, so that you can really identify when others are talking to you in ways that are really beyond your ability to heal from quickly, that aren't just like minor hiccups in communication, that are actually just abuse. Because you won't be able to recognize it as well as what I'm hearing if you yourself are not willing to treat yourself with a little bit more dignity and respect. And that's where I'm going to leave that part. So now we're going to move on to, I guess, whatever else Spirit wants to say. I'm just kind of running with it at this point, because we're redoing the message. And I know the general gist of where we're going with all of this. One of the biggest things that was definitely coming in is that there is a huge reward coming at the end of this if you are willing to do the inner work. If you've been through these things, I highly recommend actually taking a look at that Pete Walker link if you haven't already, because that will genuinely help you. Even just the PDFs that he has available. I really powered through that one. My jaw didn't want to cooperate though. All the PDFs that he has available on his website, those may be of some use to you. Queen of Pentacles in reverse. And the Five of Pentacles in reverse. Yeah, I'm getting the sense that someone really left you out in the cold. There was someone who who was in a position of being able to nurture you, but instead chose to withhold that nurturing. And that person is kind of a jerk, if you're asking me. I get fighty for my collective. Like I get a little snappy. I get a little and I don't like this person or this entity or this energy, whatever the case may be. I know for some people it's going to be a larger scale thing rather than just a person, but whoever it was or whatever it was, I don't like them. That's nasty. I don't like that they left you out in the cold like that. I don't like that they let you feel so cut off from the world around you and cut off from yourself. I don't like that they let you walk around broken for so long while they sat comfortably, completely whole with like more than what they need. I don't like that. Happiness is your birthright, and they literally withheld your birthright from you. The 5 plus the 6 would make the 6 of Pentacles, which is where the universe is in flow and giving is happening. So people are able to receive, because people can only receive gifts from the universe when we or other things such as plants or butterflies or bees or things along those lines, when those things just like happen to fly by us and we have those individual moments, or when someone gives us a gift, the universe has a hard time giving gifts in other ways. It needs to come through our physical world because so many of us cannot understand gifts that do not come from within this physical world in one way or another. Like, yes, you can receive gifts from the universe at large, such as the ability to handle certain things that you wouldn't have been able to handle. But these things are very difficult to pinpoint, and they're often mistaken for our own strength or things along those lines. We tend to still think so much in the physical. But even then, the physical was not meant to be that cruel to you. Like, I'm not saying like, oh, this was a lesson or anything like that. Like, it wasn't. People were cruel to you. And the lesson that comes forward after this is not going to be the same thing that you were learning back then, which was completely wrong and was just completely, and I hate to say this is the part where it gets triggering, I guess. That was completely orchestrated for their own benefit. Like, I know it, you know it. Like, I've been through that kind of a situation. I've been in situations where people have treated me like absolute garbage because it benefited them in the moment, because they didn't even want to acknowledge their own emotions. It would have been as cheap as some of these people just acknowledging, oh, hold on, I'm gonna take 1 second and I'll be right back. It's only gonna be a second. It would have cost them only a moment of introspection in order to be able to not do these things to us. It would have cost them so very little, and they still chose not to, because what they would have seen within themselves was not something that they wanted to see. If they had their whole worldview challenged, they think that they would have lost all of these things that they have. They think they would have had to lose what was most important to them in one way or another. This definitely... Sorry, I just had to plug something in. This definitely speaks to being sort of like either someone dealing with a narcissistic parent or some kind of very manipulative and self-serving entity. I want to stray away from using titles like narcissistic because, again, we could have people who are dealing with those, it's a medical condition at the end of the day. But you do have to find a specialized person for it, because you know, and I know, if you truly are narcissistic, that you are doing it on purpose. Like, you know what you're doing, you're organizing it intentionally. And if this doesn't apply to you, this is one of those times to be like, hey, this isn't for me. I'm just going to listen to the librarian yell at that one kid in the class who was acting up. Like, and I'm not even yelling. What I'm saying, you know, and I know that it's intentional, and you will do it to someone else who doesn't know what you're doing. So why waste your time going to go see somebody that isn't actually going to help you? Why not find a specialist who actually understands these forms of manipulation, is able to call them out and be like, hey, you're doing it again, to teach you to better analyze and respond to when you are in those behavioral patterns. If you want to heal from it, that is the most healing thing you can do for yourself. But regardless, the rest of this information just applies to everybody. Whatever it was that this person went through, it would have cost them their ability to live life in a way where they were treated well. At least that's what their perception was. I don't think personally that would have been the case. I think they probably would have integrated better into society and perhaps raised better people or taken care of people better. But I mean, I wasn't there. What am I going to do about it? And if you were obviously there in that situation, and when you were there, you obviously probably tried as best as you could to do whatever you could to either survive the situation or better try to explain it better over and over again, to try to, like, that's what I used to do. Is I used to just explain things like, listen, maybe if I try it 817 different ways, maybe this time it'll work. And then when we get into the point where it's like try number like 1223, you're like, well, I don't know if I can keep doing this. I don't know if I can keep doing this because I've tried so many different ways and I'm actually literally running out of ways to explain stuff. Sorry, my nose is really itchy. If for some of us this is a very painful thing to know that you can't keep up this type of behavior either towards yourself or towards others or towards you, can't put up with the behavior being still committed against you, it's definitely time to think about moving on. I'm gonna no kid gloves. I'm hearing we're gonna stick with this tarot, and I'm gonna do my best to try to do a little bit more of this line of conversation and then move on to, oh, I have a big fuzzy on my arm, and then move on to the benefits, like the good things that are coming as a result, and to remind you of your own strength. And then we'll get a few more mystical shaman pocket oracle cards. Beautiful. 6 of Wands, 8 of Wands, and the Hermit. Okay. I hope these are all visible. I think they should be. Let me look. Yep, they are fine. They are fine. I said that with I think I rolled my R in the middle of the word fine, which doesn't have that, but they are fine. But they are fire. I mean, you did get 2 fire cards in here. So we have the 8 of Wands, which is this quick movement. And we also have this 6 of Wands, which is a victory. I think what this is saying, especially with the Hermit, is that if you do take the time, you go in, you try to heal some of this damage that was done. You go within yourself, learn more. Again, try to be around other people. Try to figure out for yourself if you really are the same person that you thought you were. And determine, maybe go through like a blank slate period where you're just like, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to do whatever that is within reason and not harming anyone that comes to me. I'm gonna just allow my personality to naturally show itself to me over time by just going with my intuition on things that I should say and things that I should do. And if I get it wrong and people laugh at me, then that's okay too. But I don't think you're gonna get it wrong. This is a Hermit that is, it came out with the 6 of Wands, which is generally, excuse me, I'm like burping a little bit for confirmation, I guess. Yes, it is confirmation. I just got like a burp that sounded like a voice. There's I love the hair turning like green and all the different colors through this character. It's like all of the trauma and all of the negative things that you went through, like see how the legs are kind of separated? Like you're going to, in one way or another, you're going to be celebrated for having survived this. Whether you start talking to others about it or you just show up in a different state, you're going to be celebrated for having survived this, because I guarantee you, if you're still in this state of mind where you're healing from these things, the personality is so different after you change it. Like it becomes something that is genuinely enjoyable to have rather than simply being some kind of stressful, oh crap, do I do this? Do I do that? What if I hurt someone? What if I say the wrong thing? What if I upset somebody and they get mad at me and then I can't talk to them anymore? All this kind of stuff that just pops up as a result of our own insecurities coming from trauma and from people being cruel. It's going to change so fast for you once you acknowledge and embrace the certainty of that change. Because you know as well as I know, and I'm going to pull that card again because I might as well. You know and I know that change is quite literally one of the only constants in this world, in this universe. The only thing that will last forever will be the changing. because that is just how these things work. That is just how these things work. In a universe that's constantly expanding, the heat death of any one galaxy or the heat death of even a universe as a whole is somewhat inconsequential. I don't know. Actually, I don't know astrophysics that well, so don't take it from me. And I hope Neil deGrasse Tyson doesn't say anything about this, because I feel like the whole concept of tarot cards to him would probably be kind of odd. But that's well beyond the point. I don't necessarily know what would happen, but even in such a situation where the entire universe is going to be wiped out, if it's expanded so much over millions upon trillions of years, would there not be pockets that would escape and continue to change? And would that explosion not continue to change things? I can't think of a scenario in which change can't happen. So you might want to stick to that and recognize that if you're going through it right now and it's not going well for you, it's about to change, just like it always does. This too shall pass. And in this case, it's going to pass into being something that is going to be quite a celebration. You're going to be seen as someone who has overcome a great hurdle in their lives. And it's going to be quite the party, is all I can say about that. So let's get Mystical Shaman first for maybe like 1 or 2 more messages at most. I still wait for things to pop out because it's fun that way. Oh, that's 4. Okay. Yeah, you're almost at a stage of completion here. We're not going to read as much with this because these are mostly upright. I will read the medicine from the lower worlds, though. The drum, asking you to march to the beat of your own drum, especially when you're on parade here. And soul retrieval. Yeah, the completion will be swift. When you find yourself in that situation where you are finally succeeding, please do take the time to remember the beat of your own drum and follow that. And in the moments that you have to yourself, focus on doing some soul retrieval. Focus on truly breaking down what it was other people told you and if it was true or not. What kind of world, and I hate to quote Fallout 4 here, but what kind of world they will have you build and what they're willing to let you pay for it. And are you still willing to pay that price for someone who has treated you so poorly in the past? Are you still willing to live by their values if they've treated you so poorly in the past? Because what do those values represent if you were hurt by them? And I'm not talking like light hurt. I'm talking like I see the pain. And I need you to know that I do see that pain. I truly, truly do. And it is... I'm trying everything in my human... power to not say it is painful. But I hate to laugh at that, but sometimes we need a laugh in the face of it, because holy crap, like for real, it's that's a lot of pain to be carrying around. As you start to work through this stuff, and I'm going to take a sip of Squencher because my stomach's acting up a little. It's not the Squencher if you're worried about that. I just haven't eaten breakfast yet today. This soul retrieval card is definitely calling for you to, and you know what? That's the one I'm going to read. Definitely calling for you to start to piece through the broken fragments of yourself and recover what you need to recover. Soul retrieval is a practice that helps you recover a part of yourself, your energy, your enthusiasm, or your innocence, all that you have lost. At first, we'll use soul retrieval to recover from our hurts and heal our childhood wounds. And I'm hearing inner child work is going to be important here. Pete Walker does talk about that as well. Then later, we learn to journey to recover our original nature, the self that never left the Garden of Eden, who still speaks to the rivers, to the trees, and to God. When we return to Eden, we are whole again. And the Garden of Eden is a metaphorical for those who... Most people would know about that, but the Garden of Eden is a metaphorical place. Or in some religious groups considered a realistic place, but evolution kind of speaks against that. A metaphorical place that refers to like the beginning of humanity when all was abundant. Perhaps before we were even born, who knows? The invitation from the soul retrieval card is that you are no longer fragmented, as we said previously. You are one with creation. You have healed the cause of the pain you feel, so you do not need to dwell on it any longer. Really, it's true. If you are still hovering over an old wound, find a new flight path. Don't be distracted with the little stuff you've already mastered. Go for the big one, the journey back to Eden. So yeah, for those of us who already have dealt with a lot of this trauma, some of you may need to still do you'll know what is best for you. Whatever feels right to you in the moment, because this happens slowly over years and years and years. It's not something you want to rush into, but you'll know if it's right for you or not. And if you don't know if it's right for you or not, I recommend speaking to a therapist, or perhaps going into some of that work with Pete Walker and seeing if it ignites anything that is helpful for you. You don't want to just be throwing yourself into pain if you've already been through all this. If you're in a better place now and you're starting to heal, see this just as gentle advice to treat yourself kindly, remembering that happiness is your birthright, remembering that you feeling joy fearlessly is going to be very important for you moving forward, because it appears that was taken from you in the past. To march to the beat of your own drum, and that this cycle is actually at a stage of completion. So for many of us, this trauma already is being left in the past. But Spirit just needed to tell you one last time how big it was that you made it through that. How absolutely magnificently you managed to hold yourself up, considering like the waves and waves of pressure that were pounding down on you constantly, that you had to shield yourself from, and how you can now move forward into a new situation in life. You can start to complete this cycle and move on to one in which you are able to set the tone. You are able to decide what legacy gets passed on. You are able to help guide the people around you, or to help grow either the energy or the society in which you live, whichever one you want to contribute to, just by being there, or by actually, big burp, excuse me, by actually getting out there and contributing to the world in a physical manner. And I think that all of these things, I don't think staying alone is the best thing for you regardless, but don't dwell on old wounds. But if you do need to heal something or retrieve a part of yourself from an older time, try to remember that part of yourself. Try to maybe eat some of the foods that you ate back then, or eat some of I'm just repeating, you can't eat more than like the food, really. So eat some of the foods you ate back then, or enjoy some of the music that you once listened to, and see if you remember anything about yourself that you'd like to bring forward with you into the future. See if you find any younger selves that you can help lead into the future spiritually from this moment now. Do a little bit of future self, past self communication. Kindly, please, and thank you. Lovingly. That would be much appreciated, because we all need that right now. So let's be kind and loving to ourselves too. Okay, and now here's the other side of that. Are you one of those people who do not like to face the past? Now your past is calling to be acknowledged, to be heard, and to be embraced. The only way to become unstuck is to honor everything that has transpired in your life, reflect on the lessons learned, and move on. If you bear witness to your past and learn its lessons, it will stop haunting you. As you embrace its gifts, you will recover a missing part of your soul. I don't even have to say much with all this stuff. I really, truly do not. Spirit is coming out in your corner. And the universe, spirit, however you want to refer to, like the energy that makes up all of our souls, that makes up like this beautiful cosmic lattice that supports all life. Whether you just want to think of it as the universe in like the most traditional, like atheistic sense, there is some really beautiful support coming out here. You are due that support, whether it is an equal and opposite reaction, or if it is a genuine, empathetic hand from God. You are going to start succeeding in seeing a completion. You just need to determine and then go through the process of either going through your past hurts and wounds. Definitely go ahead and talk to a therapist. Find a really good therapist if you can. or going through the process of retrieving pieces of your soul and moving forward. Either you still need to do a little bit of work or you don't, but either way, you're going to want to bring that, like whether you're, it's literally like one chapter behind for this lower world card. So if you're more drawn to this pile during the thing, then perhaps you may want to do more of an internal work situation. Again, talk to other people about it. Definitely talk to other people. And we're reaching the end of my time here for sure, because we're about to get to an hour. I want to keep this under an hour if I can. So, my belly grumbling. I don't know if you can hear that. That'd be funny if you could. I'll definitely wrap it up soon here then. Or you focus on this soul retrieval concept. You just focus on the chapter that you're on where you've already gone through all that kind of stuff. I would say I'm more on the soul retrieval card because I can just tell, like, I don't really need to go back there anymore. There's nothing left there that I really want to clean up. I'm happy to let that be the past. Excuse me, I bumped the desk, so the camera moved a bit. There's nothing there that I want to bring with me anymore. And as I find more pieces of myself, as I remember things and go through like the process of slowly learning to love the childhood that I had, despite how painful and difficult it was, slowly learning to love the fact that I am as strong as I am, slowly learning to love and accept the fact that I can be as joyful as I am every day. Like, oh my God, I get so good on the other side of this. Y'all wouldn't even believe. Just give yourself a little bit of faith. Have a little bit of faith. If you need faith, go to Jim Carrey's link. If you need healing, go to Pete Walker's link. If you want both, go to both. I would certainly do Pete Walker's first and then do the graduation, because that would be like a nice, like, oh, you went through all that. Here's your graduation thing from the universe, right? Or just from Jim Carrey, if that's what you want to do. But he's a great speaker, so. All right, universe, you got any other messages, or are we done? Because I know I'm going to cut a little bit out of this, so I think I still got like a minute or two. I don't want it to... Oh, okay. Thank you. I always trust the direction of the universe and know I'm being guided. You are being guided. You are so being guided. I don't know how to describe to you. See, obstacles are detours in the right direction. Same concept. You've been encountering obstacles in your life, and those are about to start falling away, because you are finally headed in the right direction. And the right direction is that self-actualization power that comes from being able to fully feel like yourself, being able to feel like you can live your full truth and live your life and be who you are without anything more than just your basic, like, you know, there's haters out there in the world. You're going to have to deal with that anymore. But the kind of stuff that rolls off your back is the kind of stuff that we are headed into here. I'm not saying you're never going to experience pain again. That's life. I'm going to sip a squincher. That's life, but it is time for a turn of the wheel, is what I'm hearing. You've been through it. It's time to let that karmic cycle end and truly start out. I'm hearing for a lot of people, and we got fearless and free again. For a lot of people, especially if you're associated with this freedom concept that keeps popping up, if you've really felt like either a sense of like maybe not as free as you would like to be, this is a karmic cycle ending for you. And you're going to be able to start off with like a fresh slate, basically, especially if you start treating yourself better, because you will start treating others the way that you treat yourself, which is with that same compassion, understanding, and respect. And that is going to completely wipe your karmic slate clean, especially considering the fact that you were able to heal yourself and you did that work. Like karmically speaking, it is going to do so much to put you into the right, because karma means action, right? So I'm going to say that a lot over the course of this channel, but karma is referring to the actions we do. So if we take the right steps in the right direction and we kind of navigate around these obstacles and eventually find ourselves down that side path the universe wanted us to go to, that leads to a beautiful garden. Extra confirmation here. Your angels really, really want you to listen to this. Wow. They really want you to know that you're headed down the right path. You are headed down the right path. You just need to make sure that you are working on yourself. Now that you've gotten this reading and gotten this like wake up call, I guess. I don't know how to describe it. I'm not going to take credit for it. This is more of a guides thing. I don't even remember half of what I said over the course of the last hour. And that's generally how it works for me, because I'm just channeling and I'm constantly picking up the next piece of information as I'm finishing what I'm saying. So it becomes a little bit difficult for me to remember everything. I listen to it again later and I take it like whichever, as I said, I'm in one particular situation, but I'm still going to take this and listen to it as if I was just listening to it as a person, which is how I knew I needed to redo this. But seriously speaking, you are being so guided. And if you can really have faith in that, if you can have faith in anything in this world, if you can have faith in anything at all, whether this be God, whether this be the universe as a whole, whether this be, I really recommend the universe as a whole, because you really want to go as high up as you can, even like the omniverse. I don't know if y'all have seen Soul from Pixar, but Jerry is also a good choice. Any of the Jerrys, even Terry, if that's more your flavor. But bring some energy and intention to that faith so that you can start generating the sense of fearlessness and freedom. And that's going to generate more joy. And then that joy is going to generate an even more fearless freedom. And then you're going to find yourself in the situation where you are so joyful and so relieved that you're able to have gotten through all the stuff you've gotten through, feeling like a whole fresh new start, and literally having a karmic fresh new start because you did all that work and you truly reset your patterns. Because you're no longer talking to yourself in that negative way, and you're replacing it with those 3 thoughts like I told you to. I wish I remembered who it was that told me to do that. I want to credit them. But I think they also had the advice from someone else. And if you want to pray, definitely feel out what it is you want to pray for, and then take that moment to pray, or feel out how you want to pray with spirit. Like, just have a whole conversation with the universe in your own mind. And just, even if it's a one-sided conversation because you can't really hear the responses yet, just have that one-sided conversation. So many burps happening. It's from all the squincher, I bet. Have that one-sided conversation with the universe and enjoy that, and just talk about what you want to talk about. And then at the end of it, okay, I pray for the things that I decided upon. Or you can just pray for the highest good for all. It's definitely about assessing your relationship with prayer. You don't necessarily have to do it this way, because some prayers are useful to us, I'm hearing, just in the sense of that they allow us to identify our desires, and they allow us to identify what's important to us in that moment. So that could be useful. And as we learn what we're doing, do it through love. Learn through love. Don't treat yourself poorly. Don't treat anybody else poorly. Don't treat yourself poorly. Remember, you're completing that cycle. Start learning through love. Because when you learn through love, there's another card in here that talks about accepting the love of the universe as your primary teacher. And then there's yet another card that says, I am the loving energy of the universe. Once you accept that love as your primary teacher, everything is so different. I am doing better now in this moment than I have in my entire life. In my entire life, I have worked through addictions. I have worked through abuse. I have worked through PTSD. I have worked through treating other people the way I didn't want to be treating them. I've worked through hurting myself. I've worked through not wanting to be alive anymore. I'm counting on my other hand anymore. I've worked through anxiety. I've worked through depression, and I've worked through trust issues, and I've worked through just getting myself through the physical therapy that I needed to do with myself to get myself feeling normal again after the seizures I had. But the universe works a lot faster when we're having fun. And honestly speaking, it does. I have made more progress in this short period of time since I heard the original reading. It's been about a month. So give yourself about a month for things to start changing, and they may start changing even sooner. I'm hearing it is directly correlated to how much you are countering your negative thoughts with your positive thoughts. That's how quickly you will start to feel happy. That's how quickly you'll start to feel joy, and you'll start to cleanse that karma. Because remember, those thoughts, they may not be actions, but if you're really holding yourself to standards and treating yourself like, oh, you idiot, you shouldn't be doing that. Don't you know that you can do this, that, or the other thing if you do that? Instead of, okay, hold on, I don't want to do that. I don't want to hurt them. Like, if you're going to hurt somebody and you want to try to like scare yourself out of doing it, that's not going to help you. You're literally solving the problem with more anger and more harm. Don't do that. Love yourself. Treat yourself like you would a child. Treat yourself like you would treat, unless you would punt a child into the sun. Because if you don't like kids, then don't treat yourself like you would treat a child. That's probably not going to be very good for you. I'll shuffle some like this. And if you want to pause and try to read it, you're welcome to. I'll try not to cover too much of the text. And here's this one. Our final card. I find a deeper meaning and personal growth amid the discomfort. You are slowly waxing here. You are becoming your full self. And there will be cycles that you go through where sometimes you don't feel like you're your full self because you might be a little bit tired out. It still happens. Life is not without its struggles. Life is not without feeling the same situations you've felt in the past are repeating. But in most situations, it is just a reminder for you to better handle those in the future and for you to show yourself how far you've come. To show yourself, like say, for example, you get scared by certain noises. I no longer get scared by many noises, even though I was terrified of them for a long time, just because it always meant trouble, like yelling and things like that. Now I hear yelling and I assume someone's having a great time talking with their friends, because I have roommates that, all of my roommates are, including myself and my partner, are all very online people. We have a lot of online friends. So if I hear someone screaming or like yelling at the top of their lungs, they're playing a video game and I know they are. And if I were to listen to what they were yelling, I'd probably start laughing. It doesn't startle me the same way anymore. And you can also learn that. You can find that deeper meaning and personal growth amid the discomfort. But as you start to work on those triggers, as you do that internal work of reclaiming yourself and reclaiming your own space, reclaiming your peace, I'm hearing, reclaiming the sense of love that you have, all of this gets wiped away. It all gets wiped away and you get to come out brand new, shiny, spanking clean, a fresh, new you for the new era that your life is entering into. And with that, I will leave you there. Again, I highly recommend you check out the stuff below. Remember, Pete Walker for healing, Jim Carrey for reclaiming or for going back and considering all the hard work you've done. Graduation should come after you look through the healing, if you are going to look through the Pete Walker stuff, just to give yourself that moment. And thank you for putting up with this with me. I'm really, really glad that you were able to stick it out if you made it all the way to the end. I hope that this helped. I really needed to get this message out. It's been bugging me for a month, so I will try to get this out within the next few days after recording it. And then I have one more reading that's already been recorded that's ready to come out afterwards, which hopefully has some good messages in it for you too, if you so desire, if you so wish to return. But that is up to you. I hope that you have a lovely day. I hope that you heal as much as you possibly can. I hope you know that you are beloved by the universe and that you are in a state of growth right now and you are really going to surprise yourself. And I'll leave you with that. Good luck with the surprise. I think you're going to enjoy it. Bye for now. Love you. Take care.